Welcome back into Exit 99 Sports. As always, my name is Caleb Deloach, and pretty crazy. We actually just finished week 4 of what is the high school football season, the fall sports calendar. We're a month in and halfway through every fall sport, pretty much. You look at all the schedules, anything left. We're at the end of September. We got the month of October, and then we started getting into the postseason at the end of October, early November, things like that. So it's pretty wild. We are right here at the midpoint for a lot of seasons, a lot of teams. So a lot to talk about, a lot going on. We're in the middle of everything right now. We'll check up on a couple of big football games, both Big SEMO Conference games here in our Cape County teams, and then a lot of other action across volleyball, softball, soccer, etc. So, jumping right into it, myself and Cody, we went up to Farmington because him and I do Jackson games on the radio. So if you ever want to listen to me talk more than you already are right now, 104.7 The Bridge, Friday nights, that's where to find me. We went up there, Farmington. I didn't know how it was going to go. I knew Jackson obviously was undefeated. They had played 3 really good teams. But Farmington was really rolling. They play a style that's tough. They're going to spread you out. They're going to throw it a bunch. They have a pretty good running quarterback, Tatum Tinsley, who I respected. And obviously, I really respected, how good of a coach Coach Eckley is. And so that tempered my expectations. I always thought Jackson was going to win. But I did not expect what ended up happening there over at Farmington, which was Jackson winning 56-7 over the Farmington Knights in a ranked matchup. Jackson was number 5 in Class 6 going into the game. Farmington was number 8 in Class 5 going into the game. So, it was one of the bigger games in the state of Missouri, really highly anticipated, obviously, the ranking-wise, but also Coach Eckley getting to get his first taste of playing against Jackson. And it was all Indians. Just some of the numbers, Jackson was over 600 yards of total offense, and it was over about 3 minutes into the ball game. This is the sequence of events. Jackson gets the opening kickoff. Throw a swing pass out to Jory Toma, 60-plus yards, handed to Jalen Hampton on the second play. He runs it in for 8 yards. Farmington gets the ball, fumble it. Tatum Tinsley loses it deep in their own territory. First play, wide receiver pass on an end around to Camden Brockmeyer. Brockmeyer hits Blaine Reagan over the top of the defense. Come right back down. Farmington, 3 and out. Give it back to Jackson. 1 play, 58-yard touchdown pass to Jory Toma. Good night. Game's over. 21-0. 4 plays, 3 touchdowns. It's all Indians. And that was how it felt the entire ball game. After that, like I said, Jackson 21-0 in whatever it was, 4 minutes of game time, maybe less. They kicked the ball back off to Farmington, and pretty consistently, it was just all Jackson the entire time. Every time Farmington got the ball, the Indians were forcing turnovers. I think in the end, 5 total turnover on downs were forced by the Indians. Every 4th down, the Indians' defense got after the quarterback, Tatum Tinsley. They brought him down. After going up 21-0, they sacked him. Jackson got it back. Moved a little bit more methodically, took more than just 1 or 2 plays. Drew Parsons ran it in on a crazy scramble there as well. He, I want to say, looked right, kind of rolled to his left, sprinted back out. He was probably, I think the ball was snapped like the 15. He was all the way back out to the 25 and just rolled to his right. There was nobody in front of him to the goal line. Put his head down, ran over a couple of Farmington defenders, got in the end zone, 28-0. Back to Farmington, blah, blah, blah. It was pretty much open and shut. Another sack, this time in very much plus territory for the Indians on 4th down. So Jackson got it again. Parsons scored. on another read option, kept it himself after he hit Brockmeyer. Brockmeyer, he did a lot after the catch there. It was just all downhill, brutal, just all Jackson. It was pretty impressive, In the first half, I mean, Jory Toma started out with the if you're online like I am, he started out with the Randy Moss stat line back in his Minnesota days, where Randy Moss had like 3 catches for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. That was basically Jory Toma's stat line to start the ball game. First play of the game, like I said, 60 yards. He had the fourth play of the game, he had a 58-yard touchdown reception. So he put up crazy numbers. And it was kind of a deal where Jackson, for the first time this season, felt like they were just out athleting the other team. We talked about it a lot. The teams Jackson played early in the season were really talented, bigger on the line of scrimmage in a lot of places. In the case of Edwardsville last week, much bigger out wide at receiver, and generally, faster at a lot of spots than Jackson. I mean, Cardinal Ritter, Jackson beat Cardinal Ritter week 1. They are loaded. They have several guys going to be playing college football, and did not matter. Ballard had some guys that are going to be playing at the next level. Fast, athletic dudes, big on the line, did not matter. Edwardsville has guys playing at the next level, really good quarterback, gigantic wide receivers that are super fast, did not matter. And so, I mean, Farmington, really good athletes, usually pretty decent size. Jackson had this was the small, like, as good as Farmington is, as big, as athletic, as well coached, this is the smallest and least athletic team that Jackson has seen this season. So Jackson kind of just ran by the entire night. The DBs covered really well. That's been a common theme. I mean, they kind of got lit up a little bit against Edwardsville, numbers wise, but they still covered well at times. I mean, they were just covering 6'5" and 6'3", 6'4", 6'6" guys everywhere. Only so much you can do about that. But I mean, this ball game, they were like glue on the Farmington receivers, and really the only thing that slowed Jackson down ever was just flags a little bit. I mean, that was a big issue. It was a big talking point the entire season to this point. We're coming off the Edwardsville game where Jackson had somewhere between 20 and 30 flags in the game. They did better. They cleaned it up quite a bit against Farmington. But late in the first quarter, after Jackson went up 21-0, the Indians had a chance to blow them out by the end of the first quarter. Kind of got stymied by a couple of big penalties to end drives. But, the defense just showed up and showed out every time they were called upon. They contained, I mentioned Tatum Tinsley, the quarterback at Farmington, really good athlete. One of those kids is just like one of the better athletes in the school, regardless of sport. I mean, he's going to be a good basketball player later in the winter when we see him. Contained him well at quarterback, pressured him a lot, got to him, sped him up, were chasing him all over the field. Just made his life difficult. The running backs have done well. Coy Fripp, the McCarthy kid, the Buchanan kid, they'd all done well the last 3 games before that. Jackson stuffed them, especially between the tackles. There was not a lot there. And like I said, throughout the entire first half, I mean, the Indians go up 35-0 in the game, and Parsons was out of his mind. He had over, I think it was 360 yards in the first half. I mean, he threw the ball. He played fearlessly, but did so intelligently. It's kind of the big thing. He, was taking, 50-50 shots downfield to receivers, but, he knew his guys were in the position to make a play, or if his guys didn't make the play, nobody was going to make a play. So, he threw up passes to Evan Turley. He threw up passes to Jory Toma, Brockmeyer, because he knew, in this matchup, this was a matchup where his guys could actually go up and over dudes at the back end of defenses. So he took calculated risk, and it worked out. I mean, Jory Toma, once again, unbelievable in the ball game. I was looking at the total stats. Like I said, over 600 yards of offense. Parsons had SEMO Ball has him for 376 yards passing, 31 yards rushing. Jory, 9 receptions, 228 yards receiving and a touchdown. On the ground, 11 yards a carry, 290, almost 300 yards rushing as well. Jalen Hampton got in the end zone a couple of times. Shout out to Jalen Hampton, man. The kid, I think Cody and I joked about it on the broadcast live. I think he leads the state of Missouri in stats that don't count. The poor dude had, I think, 2 touchdowns that got taken away due to penalty. I don't remember if he got one of them back or not. But, yeah, one of them, he had 2 taken away because of penalty. I know he had a long catch that got wiped out due to a penalty as well. Earlier in the year, I think against Ballard, he had a 70-yard touchdown reception that got wiped away because of a penalty. Jalen Hampton leads maybe America in plays that don't count. So it's still, the flags a little bit. I mean, we're at a point in the season where I don't know how much little mistakes are really going to doom Jackson over the next several weeks. But still something you want to clean up. You don't want to just get blatant holding calls, wiping away, 30, 40, 50, 70-yard touchdowns by the offense. But overall, dominant night. I think, if I remember right, Cody had us for 7 sacks in the ball game. Special teams, shout out to special teams. It had been a little bit of an issue at times, right? Early in the season, missed a couple extra points. It showed up when it needed to most, right, against Cardinal Ritter. Evan Turley, shout out, made the game-winning field goal when called upon. But after that, there were some issues, right? We were missing PATs. We had some punt issues here and there. Pretty tight all-around performance tonight, or the other night for the Indians. 8 of 8 on PATs. When needed to do so, punt unit was good. Also, shout out to Grant Brown, and I think Blaine Reagan is the one who downed it. That one ball should have been down at the 1-yard line. I mean, look, I didn't have the greatest view of all time, right? I was probably up and kind of far away from the play in the press box at Farmington. He did not step on the goal line, did not step in the end zone. Should have been down at the 1. So perfect punt by Grant there, but kind of got wiped out by a questionable call, but it is what it is. Just dominated. It was just a dominant performance from beginning to end. The second half, the only blemish on the night was just a busted coverage right before halftime. The Indians kind of sold out for run, and Farmington threw it, and they had 2 guys not covered downfield. Ended up leading to the only score of the ball game. But in the second half, once again, dominant showing. The defense really stepped up once again. Just whenever they were faced with 4th downs, just getting off the field, getting sacks. Like I said, 5 turnover on downs total. It was just a dominant stretch. The Indians went to the run pretty heavily in the second half, obviously. Coach Nesbitt trying to get out of there. You had a running clock in the second half. Pretty quickly, Jackson went down on their first possession, scored. Jory Toma, I think on that first possession of the third quarter, had an awesome just individual play on, I believe it was just a screen pass out to the left side near the Farmington bench. And he made 1 or 2 guys miss with a juke, spin move by a guy, spin move off of another tackle, got tackled eventually after a long gain. It's big time individual effort by him. And then Jalen Hampton did punch it in for his second touchdown of the game to get that running clock going. And then, the run game was just dominant. Jalen Hampton got a lot of carries. He was just reeling off 5-7 yards every time he touched it there in the second half. And then Memphis Maddox came in, had just showing off the track speed a little bit there with 70-ish yard touchdown run, just blew by the defense. And, Jackson was able to get the second unit in there in the third quarter. It's always what you want. Farmington even, they were showing a heavy box there. They had 7 guys in the box there late in the game. Didn't matter. Jackson was still running all over them. I love Memphis Maddox. It's been fun watching him. He's very explosive, has huge game-changing speed, hits the hole really decisively, just sticks his foot in the ground, gets uphill or gets downhill. Very fun. showing by him. And then shout out, to the pride of those guys coming in late. They didn't just roll over and let Farmington score, right? Farmington drove all the way down the field near the end of the ball game. Got it, in the red zone, I think goal to go situation. And, special shout out to Carson Pierce coming in. Things happen or whatever, but we have the obvious heir apparent to Jackson's current outside linebacker duo of Finley and Cox here. Carson Pierce comes in. I think he was listed at 5'7" on the depth chart. 2 sacks in the red zone to hold Farmington on the last drive, keep them out of the end zone. And another shout out, Gage Parker took a ball. Big run. It was like big run, then 50-yard touchdown run on, which was the last play of the game. It was about a minute and a half left on the clock. Jackson wasn't trying to run it up. The kid just couldn't get tackled. So shows you the depth, shows you the talent Jackson has, just dominant showing. And I appreciate the pride, like I said, of the second unit, those guys getting in late. Standing up when they got called upon, They could have just, like I said, come in there. Farmington kept the first unit offense out there until the very, very end. So, those guys could have just rolled over, been like, hey, these guys are whatever, bigger and older than us, blah, 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 more experienced. And then another special shout out to Lawson Brown. That was another guy I wrote down. Has some big pass breakups in the game, and also, I believe, was starting in place of Brock Reagan. I don't know what the situation is, if it's injury or otherwise. That is something to keep an eye on. Lawson Brown, though, another guy kind of undersized out there, listed on the shorter side of the roster, but made plays. He broke up a lot of passes. Did really, really good getting called upon. He was a guy I don't remember calling his name already at this point in the season, so big time stepping up there for him. Boyd Langford was back out there after dealing with injury the last few weeks, playing really, really well. Joe Moore, Dawson Bortner, all those guys. Zayden Johnson getting to the quarterback, Keegan Brugman, Cameron Caldwell. Those guys were just dominant up front. Again, like I said, the defensive backs showed up. Tyler Fisher, Blaine Reagan, they made plays. They were covering dudes like glue all night. So it's fun to watch, big win. And, Jackson staying perfect. It's just 1-0 now in the SEMO Conference. In all indications tell me they're probably going to go undefeated in the SEMO Conference and do so very handily, which gets me to the other game we had going on. This one in Cape against Poplar Bluff. Cape Central took on the Mules, won the game 28-22. Standout there, obviously, as it usually is, running back for Cape Central, Torrance Murray again. He was up over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. They leaned on the kid, man. He carried the ball darn near 30 times, I think. I wrote that down, like right around 30 carries. I lost track kind of there. I watched it after the fact, but, he was just working his butt off, man. He was just fighting for yards, and then every once in a while he'd just break one. The Tigers came out, scored early, first drive, I believe. It was Murray, kind of led them down the field. The defense looked good, especially early on. Pretty much throughout. The big thing was just kind of little busted coverages of sorts or big plays by Poplar Bluff are really what's kind of led to a lot of the points. The offense was a little bit of an issue at times. Like I said, watching back the game against Cape, but backtracking, they scored, and then they, like I said, the busted coverage. They gave up a long touchdown pass, kind of like a quick throw right up the seam. They didn't cover. Colt Clifford, right up the seam for Poplar Bluff. He scored, long throw. And there's some issues. There was just like offensive sputtering issues. They were going backwards on a lot of plays. They had a bad snap or hole catch. I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly the issue with the exchange on a punt. Gave Poplar Bluff great field position, and Poplar Bluff took advantage and actually was leading 14-7 going into halftime, which might have been the first time Cape has been trailing at all this season, especially at halftime. I don't think they have been trailing at all. So that was a big moment for the Tigers. You don't want to be losing to Poplar Bluff, who came into the game 0-3. They just got their doors blown off by Farmington the week before at Farmington. And so, if you're a Cape fan, I'm sure you're hoping that game goes a lot better, or you're more lopsided and you're on your side. But it's Poplar Bluff. They're a team they see every single year. They're They're used to this matchup. Poplar Bluff's fired up for it, obviously. I mean, it's a bit of a rivalry of sorts here in SEMO Conference North action. So, and you knew that they were going to have won a response after getting blown out the week before against Farmington. Like I said, the whole pride thing. The kids came up with pride. But K was able to hold on. They got their big response was they had a 58-yard bomb to Martavion Robinson, who's looking really good, by the way. Brayon Clemens is kind of, I guess, the number one target of sorts, or the most notable target out wide for the Tigers. But Robinson looked really, really good. He's getting open. He's hitting on a lot of big plays for the Tigers, so that's huge for them. Aiden McGuire, also, he had a really, really good drive, kind of running the ball himself. It's something he hasn't done a lot of from what I, remember what I've watched of Cape Central. He has a lot of running backs. He has a lot of really good athletes to, get the ball to on the perimeter. But he took one drive pretty much by himself, led Cape into the end zone, go up 21-7. Tigers get some stops. They miss 2 field goals, I believe, on back-to-back possessions. Which the bigger issue there was just kind of getting held out of the end zone. I think they got the ball in great field position, but were unable to capitalize on it. They took, I think, a 55-yard field goal is what I wrote down early in the fourth, and then with like 6 minutes to go, a 45-yard field goal, but missed both. The 55-yarder was online, from what I could tell, just a little bit short. And the second one was missed to the right. But, the defense, as it has throughout, the last few years even, but all season long, responded. They got an interception immediately after the missed field goal. And then Murray got into the end zone again. They brought in Boyd off the bench. Some guy. One thing that was notable was, Izzy Bridges' usage I felt like was way down. He got banged up in the early fourth quarter as well. I don't know kind of what the deal was there, so I'm hoping, for the best for him, obviously just health-wise, but for the team as well. So I don't know exactly where he's at there. But overall, like I said, early in the game, they really put a lot more on Aiden McGuire's shoulders, which he showed promise at times. He had some throws that didn't connect, but they're leaning on him. They're leaning on Torrance Murray very heavily. It feels like they've decided upon, or he's established himself as kind of the bell cow guy. And, he's doing well. He picked up big chunk yardage when need be. And Aiden McGuire, like I said earlier, running the offense well. They'd use a lot of misdirection. It's option football, basically. They motion receivers into the backfield, and so then it's just triple option football. Aiden McGuire can hand it to the running back, pull it, and then run the option around the edge. What they're doing a lot is making it a run-pass option of sorts, where he's throwing backwards passes like 10 yards to his right or left to the receivers that come in motion. It's a little bit dangerous. He did miss one that was for a fumble that lost him a few yards there early, but overall he's pretty accurate. He was hitting the guys out in space. And like I said, if you give, Clemens space out there, and then on the broadcast, he kept saying Groves. So Terrell Groves is who I'm guessing was doing really, really well as well out there on the perimeter for him. Overall, I was pretty satisfied with how McGuire looked. Like I said, I felt like they put more on his plate this week, and he handled it pretty well. Obviously, they got the win. And they continued to have confidence, I felt like, even in the past game, even when it wasn't working at times. But I also said on that one drive, McGuire ran the ball really well. He was really tough in this ball game. He took some big hits in the pocket. He got sacked a handful of times. Poplar Bluff usually has very physical, aggressive front seven, and so they got after him a little bit and, laid some hits on him, but kept getting up, kept fighting, kept playing throughout. I was happy about that. Murray did well. Another issue at times in the ball game was bad snaps, low snaps, timing on snaps being off something. I'm not sure exactly where the disconnect was, but there was 3, maybe 4 occasions where, McGuire was having to chase down balls on the ground, stuff like that, fall on it. So, when you're a team that leans on the run a little bit, you don't want to be getting behind the sticks, which was a little bit of an issue in this ball game, which kind of kept them out of the end zone more. And And I mentioned, see what's going on with Bridges. Hope he's all right. I said they brought in Boyd late, not Keyshawn, but they brought in Boyd late to go for 4th and 1. They got it. And then Murray, like I said, just kept showing up. When they needed him, they'd be behind the sticks. They would give it to him on 2nd and 15, and he'd run for 28 yards, something crazy like that. So it got a little dicey late in the ball game. They were kind of trading weird plays, bad plays. Murray punched one in to give the Tigers a 2-score lead, and Poplar Bluff threw an interception immediately after that. And it's like, all right, the ball game's over. Cape fumbled on the very first play, I think, after getting the interception. And then after that, Logan Slack made a ridiculous individual effort, 60-something yard touchdown reception. He made a one-on-one catch. He broke 2 tackles on the sideline. And Poplar Bluff got down by 1 score with a minute and a half left. But once again, Aiden McGuire, the offense, they settled it down. They did what they needed to do, and they got out of there with the win. So overall, you're happy with the win. They're not going to win any prizes for showmanship in the win, but that's all that matters. Getting a win at the end of the day is all that counts, and they did that. So that's the end of my football talk for this past week. We can jump into some volleyball. A lot of volleyball going on around Cape County. Getting started this past Monday, starting with Monday, September 15th. Cape beat Bernie, shut them out 3-0. Once again, Cape has shown the ability to just bulldoze teams that are maybe smaller than them or whatever, and they did so there against Bernie. Turn around, though, Jackson is a machine right now this year in volleyball, man. They beat Cape 3-0, swept the Tigers. Cape played tough, especially early on. It was a very, very competitive first set. Jackson won 25-22, and then 25-19, and then 25-16. So you can tell they kind of pulled away throughout the match overall. But, early on, Cape came out with a lot of energy, a lot of effort. It's not surprising. I talked to Coach Summer earlier in the summer, no pun intended. And, she really gave me an impression her team's going to play with a lot of effort, a lot of energy at all times. They're going to come with confidence at all times, and that's what they did. But Jackson was able to kind of weather the storm. Big shout out to Milena Haynes, Harding University. Let's go. The best school in America, people are saying. Milena Haynes had 15 kills in the game. Avery Bruni dished out 15 assists, 4 kills. Lauren Dory did everything. She had 5 kills, 11 digs, 9 assists, 3 blocks. One of the best, that crew, one of the best just overall groups, and not just Southeast Missouri, the entire state. Jackson's a well-rounded machine right now. They look very good, and I'm excited to get out there and watch them play a few more times this season. Saxony did drop one against Woodland, 3-0, very, very competitive game as well. Went 25-22, 29-27, 25-16. Saxony's just another team, really talented, but a lot of youth out there as well. So I'm not too worried about them in the long run. That's going to be a very good team. And they do really, really well. They're playing a lot of tough squads out here. Woodland, one of the better small schools in the region. And then Thursday had another big in-county matchup here. Jackson, same thing. Swept Notre Dame 3-0. It was competitive early. Like I said, the Cape game, it was 25-21. It was at Notre Dame. So you knew Notre Dame was going to be fired up. Notre Dame's good. They're talented. They have a lot of girls who have, played a lot of volleyball. They've seen Jackson, Cape, Notre Dame. These girls have been playing against each other their entire lives. So it's always a fun environment when they get together. Once again, Milena Haynes played well, 11 kills there. Lauren Dory again, 12 assists. Avery Bruni, 12 assists. Jake Cower on the back end had 15 digs, and Lauren Dory had 6 total blocks in the ball game. So she was very dominant, and that was kind of what my impression was of the game. It felt like Jackson was dominant even early when they were struggling, but just bounces weren't going their way at times. Notre Dame, give them credit, they played hard, they hit hard, they were hitting into blocks a lot. They were hitting a lot of balls off blocks for points. They dug in, but overall, in the end, Jackson just kind of ran away from them by the third set. Like I said, winning 25-6, close it out. So Jackson is an absolute powerhouse this year. I expect them to win every game in Southeast Missouri. SEMO Conference tournament's coming up. Be on the lookout for that. Might get some coverage action there. Valley knocked off Saxony as well. Saxony, like I said, playing a gauntlet against other small schools. Saxony got us, they won a set there. Like I said, it was 3-1. It went 25-22 Valley, 25-14 Valley, and then Saxony came back, won 26-24, and then Valley closed it out 25-23. So very competitive sets. It sucks losing, but you never want, you don't want to do the whole moral victory thing, but Valley is a machine. I saw the coach there won her 900th game the other day. So, they're one of those programs that people fear. And so, no harm in losing to them, but a good learning effort for sure. And yeah, that close out volleyball. Kick over to softball. A decent amount of softball games this past week as well. Some teams playing really, really well at the moment. Notre Dame, though, they did lose their first one of this past week, 3-1 against Donovan. But they were able to bounce back on Tuesday. They blew out Poplar Bluff 17-6. Always what you like to see. Cape beat SEMO Conference opponent Sykeston 10-6. Saxony did drop one to Fredericktown 5-4. Very competitive ball game. And then Wednesday, we had another heavy slate here. Jackson on senior night blew out Farmington 16-1. Also always good to beat Farmington. Kelly beat Cape 11-0. Notre Dame shut out North County 5-0. On Thursday, I know we had Jackson got rained out, postponed against Northwest. We'll see when that gets rescheduled or replayed. North County, who just lost to Notre Dame, bounced back. They beat Cape 10-3. And Kelly, just having their way a little bit here with our teams in the area. They beat Saxony 3-0. And then over the weekend, Jackson hosted a doubleheader against Francis House Central. Unfortunately, Indians dropped both of those ball games, 4-2 and then 15-4. So two very, very close games. Unfortunately, the Indians come up on the wrong side of both of them. But then up north in Jeff City, I believe, Jefferson City, Notre Dame went up there. It went 2-2 in a big tournament up there, the Capital City Classic, playing teams from that region, Central Missouri. They did beat Capital City 7-6. They beat Hickman 9-4, and then lost a couple close ones to Jeff City 2-0, and then Tolton Catholic beat them 5-3. Going to boys soccer, Jackson got started off, got torched by Northwest 4-0, but Cape, always nice, like I said, pulling off a SEMO Conference victory. They beat Sykeston 3-2. And also that same Tuesday, Notre Dame got the revenge from a loss to Saxony last season. If memory serves, I think that was like the first time Saxony had ever beaten Notre Dame. Shout out to Braden Moore. But all Notre Dame in this one, 8-0. Trenton Powell had 4 goals. Cole Gross had 3 goals. So those two combined for 7. Evan Schwainbo got the other goal. Not to mention Cole Gross had 3 assists, and Powell had 2. So Powell and Gross just absolutely dominated the Crusaders. And then, but the Crusaders do bounce back. On Thursday, they knocked off Dexter. Dexter, new program, so 8-0. Saxony blew them out, but cool to see. More programs popping up. Kennett, Dexter, some schools further down south getting more involved in soccer. Very fun to see. Always supportive. More sports, more kids getting involved in stuff at school is never a bad thing. Looking at next sport we'll jump to, girls golf. We had the St. Gen Dragon Classic up there in St. Genevieve. The results from that, I know Cape, Notre Dame, and Jackson were all up there. Jackson as a team got first place. They were led as normal by Julia Schlitt. She shot a 71. Ava Moody came in third. She shot a 79. Madison Thrower came in fifth. She shot an 82. Allie Burrows also shot an 82. And then Olivia Lacey shot a 93. Notre Dame, they actually came in second as a team. They were led by second place Grayson Maurer with a 79. Grace Fitzgerald was in 7th with an 86. And then 8th place, Lucy Barnett shot an 88. Then Emmy Gamble shot a 101. Maggie Collins shot a 139. And then Cape Central, they were led by Harper McClard. She medaled as well, got 4th place with an 81. And then Aubrey Giannini, 108. Alex Johnson, 115. San Shrikant shot 123. And Kaya Poole, a 126. I didn't get results for some of the other things that happened this past week on the golf course. I know Notre Dame got 1st place as a team over in Carbondale. I saw that. They posted that on their Facebook page, but those were the end of the results that I saw online. So we'll jump to girls tennis. Pretty busy week this past week at tennis. Starting Monday, big matchup, Jackson and Notre Dame. Always a big rivalry, 2 of the best in the area. And Jackson got the upper hand on the team side, 5-4 over Notre Dame. Cape Central dominated Charleston overall, 7-2 as a team. And Saxony fell to North County, 6-3. Tuesday had some more SEMO Conference matchups. Jackson handled Poplar Bluff. They won 8 out of 9 matchups there. Kennett beat Notre Dame. Kennett's unstoppable force, immovable object, whichever one you want to refer to them as. They won that 7-2. But, I did see Caroline Galati and Mary Cox actually defeated in doubles Claire Bean and J.D. Quinn 8-6. So it's a big victory. Anytime you knock off Claire Bean, she's a beast. So it's a nice win. And then Anna Galati Anna Galati and Mia Rowe also won their doubles match 9-7. That was the 2 wins Notre Dame picked up. And then Saxony beat Dexter 9-0 on that same day. Jackson took their turn. They whooped Charleston 8-1. Cape shut out Crothersville 9-0. Then Notre Dame took their turn to smoke Poplar Bluff 8-1. Always enjoy seeing that. Friday, there was a Jackson doubles tournament. I didn't see a lot of results. The only results I saw were from Jackson, so don't shoot the messenger. And the way they put it out here was Flight 1, Kira Crawford and Ellie Osborne got 3rd. Flight 2, Ava Jones and Lily McCoy got 3rd. And Flight 3, Adeline Hoddes and Allie Wortman got 2nd. And Flight 4, Kaylee Gray and Aubrey Mercer got 1st. That's the only results I saw. So that's the only results I'll tell you about. Last things to point out here. Cape Invitational happened in cross country. Jackson performed really, really well as a team. They got 1st in boys and girls on the varsity side, and then I believe the boys JV got 1st. The JV girls got 2nd. So as a team, Jackson really, really handily kind of, dealt with things there at Cape Central. For the Indians, the individual results I saw, Aiden Ebalski came in 2nd overall behind a kid from Lindbergh. He ran 17:09. Chase Wendell got 4th. Tower Ewan got 5th. Carter Sanders got 6th. Kenyon Kelpie came in 10th. All good showings by them. The leader for the girls' side was Emma Ebalski. She came in 3rd in the meet. Once again, like I said, pretty much a dominant showing by Jackson, local competition in cross country. Pretty much what you expect to see when Jackson does take on a lot of other local teams. Hallie King ran well. The other kind of cross country note that I had, I do actually have the results from the Missouri Southern Stampede, which is where Notre Dame was at. Martina Ressel on the girls' side came in 3rd overall in a tough meet behind an girl from out of state and a girl from Joplin beat her by a 2nd. Martina Ressel ran 18:01.88, which was actually the new school record for 5K there at Notre Dame. So big time showing by Martina. I mean, obviously only a sophomore now. So, we knew last year seeing the numbers she was putting up, she's going to be a stud, and she's kind of proving that this season. Lily Coy behind her there in 14th overall, 18:44. Those two, as usual, lead the way for the Bulldogs, and I expect to see big things when we get into, SEMO Conference meet and when we get to districts and up to the state level. I'm excited to see how those girls fare. And then on the swimming side, we had a local meet between, a lot of the local teams. It was at Cape Rock Invitational. Team-wise, Notre Dame came in 9th place, Jackson came in 10th place, and Cape came in 14th place. The one winner we had here out of our local squads from Notre Dame, Caden Craycraft, who had a really good year this past year as a sophomore, only a junior now. He won the 200 IM. Like I said, the only local swimmer to win a race. He's also part of a 6th-place finish in the 200-yard freestyle relay. And, Notre Dame, very solid team. Like I said, Jackson did well for Notre Dame as well. Ben Purcell got 13th in the 100 backstroke and 21st in the 200 free. And then junior Parker Holshoff got 13th in the 50 free and the 100 butterfly. Over at Jackson, Jan Handke finished 5th in both the 200 IM and the 100 backstroke. And then he anchored the Indians 200-yard freestyle relay to a 10th place finish there, 142. So really good showing by him. And then the Tigers were led by Will Lawrence. Will Lawrence, only a sophomore. That's a program that puts out, a lot of really, really good swimmers every year. So seeing one kid who's really, really promising at a young age, not surprising. Will Lawrence placed well, went 5th in the 100-yard butterfly, went 58-51, and then he took 10th place in the 200 IM at 2:13, which was actually his career best by 4 seconds, so shout out to Will. And then another multi-sport star, Kent Sheridan, who is probably the best pole vaulter in the state right now, did well out in the pool. He got 10th in the 50 free and 15th in the 100 freestyle. So shout out to Kent there, showing out a little bit, and all the other local swimmers doing well, helping their teams out, and putting on a good meet over there. There's a lot of teams for the Cape Rock Invitational, and so really, really competitive showing by our local swimmers. So that does it for this past week. We have a lot to talk about as far as what's coming up, but yeah, we're in the middle of it. Like I said, I'm going to tell you about some games that are happening. Make sure to get out, go check out some of these kids locally. We're in the middle of the seasons, running out of time. There's not a lot of, not a lot of games left, not a lot of meets or whatever it is, events left. So get out there, go check out these kids. They've been playing hard, competing hard, practicing hard. Go see some of them compete. I thank all of you guys that always are listening, watching. Like I said, make sure to subscribe to us. Turn on notifications if you want to see stuff we're doing. Over on social media, Exit 99 Sports for everything. I share all the teams' postings and, all the things they're doing, all the accomplishments, all the upcoming games, things like that. If you ever need another source just to keep up with all of it in one place, that's what I try to do there. So go check that out. So getting into this upcoming week, I will start with the football side of things. Cape having a test. Cape is going to be taking on St. Dominic up at St. Dominic. St. Dominic's 4-0. They are pretty good. They look pretty dang good this season. Now, look, the question is the competition the greatest? The competition's been all right. Cape Central, they have kept winning. They're 4-0 as well. But it has been, you could question, maybe, like I said, some of the competition at times. New Madrid's 2-2. St. Charles West is 1-3. Sykeston's 1-3. Poplar Bluff is 0-4. St. Dominic 4-0. Played some teams. Also kind of stink. St. Charles West, similar opponent, 1-3. Normandy 0-4. They stink. But they also beat St. Francis Borgia, who's a usually pretty solid team. They're not great by any means, but they're solid. I mean, they're 3-1. Beat them 42-17. They went to Park Hill Central, who is not the same Park Hill Central from 3 to 10 years ago. But they went there on the road. Tough place to play, 142-21 as well. This St. Dominic team, very, very talented offensively. They're averaging 50 points a game. But on the other side, they're also only giving up 11 points a game. They're in Class 6, District 4. I don't know how much longer they're going to be in Class 6, District 4. I don't know how that works exactly as far as the timing of that goes. But they had a weird way of ending up there. They were, they're a private school, so they're a little bit smaller than Class 6. But a few years ago, they just reeled off one of the craziest runs of all time. So that throughout, most of their history, they're a pretty good football program. When I was in school in the early 2010s, they were good. Back then they were 8-2, 8-2, 10-2. And then from then on, pretty much 500 overall. But then in 2022, they entered the postseason, I believe, below 500. I think they were 4-5 to end the regular season. Yeah, they were 4-5 ending the regular season. And then they blew out bad Fort Zumwalt East team in districts. They beat an 8-win Hazelwood East team. They beat a 9-win Parkway Central team and a 9-win West Plains team to find themselves in, at the time, the Class 4 state championship game. They got killed. They got blown out by a really good St. Mary's team. But, they went on a crazy run, got into the state title game, and that bumped them up into Class 6. So good job, but also too bad. St. Dominic, now you got to go play really good teams whenever you get into the playoffs. So they're a tough team. Last year, this game was very lopsided in favor of Cape Central, given both teams are quite a bit different. Last year was 47-0 down here at Cape. Now, that was the hurricane game. If you remember, we had one Friday night. I don't remember if there was like an actual hurricane that came from the Gulf and sat on us or something, but it rained and rained and rained and rained forever. It was 1,000-mile-an-hour winds. It was pouring down rain. Jackson beat Poplar Bluff by like 70 that night. It's an easy thing to remember. And I watched this St. Dominic game back against Cape because I thought it was going to be competitive because St. Dominic was all right. And their big problem is they are a heavy pass team. So that's still the case. And they were trying to throw into the wind and the rain. It was not working at whatsoever. And that, like I said, is still similar deal. But this year it's working really, really well. And that is a big reason behind that is their quarterback, Brennan Cheshin, has taken a big leap. He's one of the best in St. Louis. I mean, just stats-wise. He's 65% completion percentage, 964 yards passing, 15 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and he's only carried the ball 9 times from 92 yards. So not a big runner. He doesn't look to run. He's an all-right athlete, good-sized kid. But that's just not his game, really. But he can sit back and pick you apart if you let him. He is a really, really, really good quarterback, and they're going to spread you out and try to air it out on you a little bit. They can run the ball. They run it efficiently. I was looking at the stats earlier. They have guys that have very high, yard per carry averages, but they just don't run it a lot. Like I said, Cheshin does great throwing the ball. Running wise, if you want to look at some names to watch, they are led by Jack Cunningham. He leads them in carries. He has 20 more than the next highest guy with only 38 carries. Which if you're a Cape fan, that's about how many carries Torrance Murray had this last game individually. He's only carried it 38 times, 224 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he averaged, quick math there, he averages 6 yards a carry. Guy behind him, Hayden Bollinger, has run it 18 times for 190 yards. He's over 10 yards a carry. Jackson Adler has 17 carries, 125 yards. That's over 7 yards a carry. Dominic Paulo, 17 attempts, 10 yards a carry, 170 yards. So these guys are running it very efficiently. But obviously that's set up due to the pass because they're going to spread you out. And then to get a look they like, they will hand it off there. In the receiving game, like I said, Cheshin, he spreads it out. His top 3 guys, Coleman Murchison has 17 catches, 377 yards, 5 touchdowns. Austin Ryan has 16 catches, 242 yards, 4 touchdowns. Chaz Hurston, 12 catches, 184 yards, 5 touchdowns. So those are the big 3 guys. Jake Pines has a touchdown. Lucas Nicodem has a touchdown. But those are the 3 big ones for sure. Defensively, they have some guys that are all over the field. Jackson Nixon, he leads them in tackles. Brody Alping, Tyson Grenier, those guys are very, very active up front for them. Vinny Palmisano leads them in sacks. He just has 3, but he's kind of the leader on the end for them. there as well. So I think it's going to be a good opponent. I think it's going to be a tough ball game for the Tigers. Going on the road up north, up there, say O'Fallon area. Could be making it up. It's a long road trip. It's going to be tough. It's going to be competitive. I'm really curious to see how it goes. I don't have a great read on it. Like I said, Cape beat this team 47-0 last year. If the conditions are different, though, I think it could be competitive for sure. I think it could be close. It's going to be a complete clash of styles, what they want to do. Cape is going to keep it on the ground, pound the rock. Like I said, hopefully Izzy Bridges is all right, because they're going to need some guys to carry it for them. And you just got to hope Aiden McGuire's ready. Step up, big road test against a Class 6 opponent. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be very competitive. I mean, like I said, optimistic. I think it's going to be a one-score game probably or somewhere in that region. I really hope Cape's able to pull it out. I don't know if I'm leaning their way, but I'm really still up in the air. I genuinely don't have a great read on how this game's going to go. It's hard for me to kind of measure out. I mean, St. Dominic, teams they've played, Cape, I would say, is going to be by far the most athletic team they've played. Cape has good size on the O-line as well. They might be as big of an O-line as they've seen too. So it's going to be a fun battle. Like I said, one team's going to throw it a lot, one team's going to run it a lot. So we'll just see which style works better. The Cape DBs are going to be busy, so that's going to be the big kind of selling point. And can they get to the quarterback? Can they hurry up Cheshin? Can they turn him over? That's going to be another big question. He has no interceptions. If you can force turnovers, I think Cape Central can win the ball game. For me and Cody, we will be on the road at Poplar Bluff, Jackson, taking on another SEMO Conference opponent, Poplar Bluff, 0-4, averaging 16 a game, giving up 31 a game. They played it close against Cape. They lost, 28-22 was the final. Jackson's going to win the game. The last time Bluff beat Jackson was in 2022 in the postseason. Last time in the regular season was 2017. Overall, Jackson has won 17 of the last 20 games between these two teams. I think it's going to be 18-21. Poplar Bluff just lost at Farmington 49-19. All things are not equal. You can't just compare everything apples to apples. This is going to be at Bluff, but Jackson beat Farmington 56-7. So, just things people to watch for, though, if you are going to be watching or listening or anything like that. Gage Earnhardt is the primary quarterback for him. Good arm. They play two kids at quarterback, him and Colt Clifford. Earnhardt's the thrower. That's a good arm. You can get it downfield. He can make pretty quick reads. Usually the issue is if the first read's not there, things kind of get a little hairy. He forces throws a little bit at times, which is kind of where a lot of their drives stall out, is getting behind the chains and having to force it in the air and just not there. Colt Clifford is the better runner of the quarterbacks. He's tall, long, athletic kid. If I remember right, his older brother, Hunter Clifford? There's another Clifford. Really good wide receiver for Poplar Bluff the last few years. Colt Clifford is also one of the better receivers. He had a long touchdown against Cape. In the backfield, they always have good running backs. Caden Jenkins, Devin Ferguson are kind of the big guys there. They run hard. They're not super big. They have good speed. They try to get around the edge. They run hard between the tackles. Out on the perimeter with Clifford, you have J.R. Lathan, just solid receiving option. Logan Slack is the big play kid, freak of nature athlete. He's the one they're going to be taking deep shots to if they throw it downfield. Or maybe look to set up in the screen game, things like that, try to get them in space. Traditionally, and I assume it's the case still, just from watching them, it's hard to tell from a camera that's up in the bleachers or whatever in the press box. But they generally have a big offensive line, very physical offensive line. And same thing on the flip side, the front seven, usually very, very physical. They hit really hard. They always have linebackers that get 120 tackles in a season. Against Cape, they had kids getting into the backfield pretty consistently. They had some guys that I really liked the way they got to the quarterback. They got a lot of tackles for loss against Cape. So Jackson can't just sleepwalk and blow this team out, I don't think. They need to show up. They need to be ready. Play early, put them away early, and get out of there. I think Jackson's going to win. I think he's going to win by a lot. And finally, team I did not talk about earlier playing, Saxony. They had a bye week this past week. Saxony's coming off a loss. Their first loss ever as a football team. Last year they went undefeated in JV. This year they started 3-0, or no, they started 2-0, and they lost to Sparta/Steelville this past week on the road. And, they have a good test here. Again, this one against Marquette Catholic out of Alton, Illinois. Marquette's doing all right as far as record-wise goes. This one will be at home, so I'm assuming it will be at SEMO again. Unclear, I guess, but yeah, that's my assumption right now. Marquette Catholic 3-1. This will also be a clash of styles, a little bit, because Saxony, as opposed to Cape Central, likes to air it out. Saxony can run the ball really well. The Burek kid, and obviously like the quarterback McDowell, they both run really, really well. But this Marquette team is going to put it on the ground early and often. They only have 184 passing yards on the season. Their quarterback is a sophomore like McDowell, Toby Eberlin. He's 21 of 38, so they're averaging less than 10 passes a game. He's only completed 55%. He has 1 touchdown, 5 interceptions, so I don't blame him for maybe keeping it on the ground. Running the ball, they got a lot of guys that get a lot of carries. They have about 1,000 yards rushing on the season as a team. So they're well over 200 a game. It is Kayla McGee, 34 carries, 155 yards, so around just under 5 yards a carry. He's got 4 touchdowns. Jordan Croft, sophomore, 28 carries, 168 yards, 6 yards a carry. Really explosive kid is Jack Ray. He's a senior, only 24 carries, but 238 yards. He's averaging 10 yards a carry. Grady Deerking is a kid averaging 9 yards a carry. And then a big play kid, Dante Longstreet. 10 carries, 163 yards, so 16.3 yards a carry. 2 touchdowns on the ground. And then in the air, he is the receiving threat for them. He's the only guy in double digits reception-wise. He has 13 catches, 95 yards, and a score there. I guess if anybody, Jack Ray would be the number 2 receiver. He's got 5 catches. But they're going to put it on the ground. They're going to have it on the ground a lot. So, going to be a lot put on the Saxony front 7, as always. The defensive line has good size. Like I said, shout out Will Cooper. Does a great job getting to the quarterback, things like that. I like what I see out of the Saxony defense. I like their linebackers a lot. Some young guys in there, but they get downhill. They hit people in the hole. Like I said, the D-line does a great job of eating up blocks. And the linebackers do a good job as well. The DBs, I trust the DBs. They just, they're young. A lot of them are young. You just got to not get burnt a couple times here and there. I don't think this quarterback is going to be running around quite like the quarterback for Sparta is, keeping things alive. So I think they have an opportunity to kind of pin their ears back on the D-line, get after him, and it's going to make the lives a lot easier on the DBs. On the flip side of the ball, defense, this team does a pretty good job getting tackles for a loss. They don't get a lot of sacks out of the team. They only have 5 registered sacks I've seen on Max Preps. They have all their stats in there. The leader on the line there, Jack Baber, he has 2 sacks. He has 8 tackles for a loss. He leads them in tackles with 25. So he's kind of the guy on the defensive side. Longstreet, who I mentioned on the offensive side, he is the second leading tackler for them. He has 13. So he's a kid that's going to be all over the field. He's recovered a fumble. They've intercepted the ball 5 times. The Ray kid, who's a really good athlete on the offensive side, he plays defensively. So it's going to be a team that plays a lot of guys both ways. I know Saxony does as well, but maybe that's something that the Crusaders can take advantage of a little bit. I'm hoping that's the case. I'm going to be trying to keep up with this game as my game is going on. Like I said, I wish they played the Donovan game on a Thursday. I selfishly wish every game was on a Thursday so I could go to both. But yeah, this Marquette team, pretty solid, like I said. It's going to be a tough ball game, I think. But here, in Cape, I think Saxony has a chance to get back. I trust the coaching staff. I think this is a good coaching staff. And I think that they have, the ability to really scheme up some things, get their kids ready, get fired up, get healthy after playing 3 weeks, and be ready to come out and maybe take a win here against this Marquette team. I'm rooting for it, and I think I'm currently projecting it to happen. So we'll see what happens. They have a little bit of a tough part of the schedule here. Marquette's 3-1. Charleston coming up after that, 3-1. At Perryville is going to be a tough ball game. They're a big school, 2-2. Before a couple more Illinois games against Massac County and Redbud. But a long way to go in the season. Like I said, Saxony, I've enjoyed what I've seen thus far. Just hope to get back to their winning ways. I think they can do just that. But moving on from football, got a lot more going on this upcoming week. At time of recording, I'm recording on Monday, so there's a lot of stuff going on right now as I'm recording. I can watch the games. There's games happening right now. And so we'll skip most things on Monday, Tuesday. So a lot of great games early on in this week. In volleyball, we'll keep track of. We'll report back on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday on the schedule. The Jackson Indians are going up north to play in the Francis Howell tournament. I don't know yet who they're playing in the Francis Howell tournament, but they'll be up there. I'm sure they're going to be taking on very, very good teams. And Thursday, a game that I am very, very interested in, Cape and Saxony will be squaring off, and I don't know how it's going to go. I mean, Cape is playing very, very well, but the Saxony team is talented. They have good size up front. Obviously, Cape Central has really good size. Sidney Miller, kind of a freak of nature. But, there's two very, very good local teams. I'm kind of excited to see how this one shakes out. I'm excited. I want to watch. I want to maybe potentially be there for this one to see how this game shakes out. So I'm excited for that one. Big local rivalry. And then over the weekend, okay, so Jackson is playing Saturday as well. Francis Howell. It's crazy. Anyway, at the moment it says it's a 4-day tournament, so I'll update you if that's different. Saturday, Notre Dame and Saxony will be taking on West Plains over here. So that'll be something to watch for. West Plains making a long trip over here, taking on Notre Dame and Saxony. Boys soccer. By the time you're seeing this, Jackson is playing at Lindbergh. Saxony is at Sykeston. Cape is at Carbondale. It's Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday, Saxony is at Farmington. Should be a pretty good test up there on the road at Farmington. Cape is at Melville. A little bit of a trip up into South County. And Jackson will be at Perryville, who's always a very, very tough squad. No exception this year. Jackson trying to bounce back from a couple of tough losses. So they're able to. It's a tough team to bounce back against, though, Perryville. Notre Dame will be playing a couple of out-of-state teams Friday and Saturday. They've got McCracken County on Friday and South Warren on Saturday. So Notre Dame challenging themselves, some out-of-state teams. I like what I've seen out of the Bulldogs thus far. Cross country, a couple of things on the schedule that I saw. Saxony is going to be at Oak Ridge on Tuesday. By the time you see this, that'll be happening or over. And then the big one, though, is upcoming weekend, Saturday, September 27th. Cape, Jackson, and Notre Dame are all going up to Columbia for the Gans Creek Classic. Shout out to my guy, Josh Ebbesmeyer, get their course ready. And, I'm excited to see how those teams fare. It's just humongous. There's thousands of kids up there. And it'll be a competitive environment. So these kids will definitely get a good experience and get a lot, see where they're at, test themselves here. Girls golf, a slower week for sure this week. The back half of this week, the 25th, Thursday, Jackson, Cape, and Notre Dame are all taking part in a try match against each other. These teams have seen each other now a few times this year. It's fair to say at this point, Jackson is kind of the class of the region. But Notre Dame, right behind them, they've been playing really, really well. Grayson Maurer, Lucy Barnett, these girls have been playing well. And Cape Central, like I said, the McClure girl did well in this past week at St. Jen. See if they're able to make some noise there as well. And softball, some big games early. Jackson's game against Eureka got canceled on Monday. So we'll see when that gets rescheduled. Be on the lookout for that. Check out social media. Wednesday, Jackson is at Seckman. Notre Dame is hosting Festus, and Saxony is hosting Herculaneum. So a lot of big games there. Thursday, Cape is at Jefferson, and Jackson is at Notre Dame. So the big one, Thursday, September 25th, Jackson at Notre Dame. Be right down the road from my house. So we have to make some decisions on what I want to go to watch this week. Yeah, it should be a good ball game. Jackson and Notre Dame, always the class of the area. Notre Dame having a pretty good year. Jackson having a pretty good year as well. They've lost some games recently, but they played a really, really tough schedule. Both teams do. So, Cape Friday will be hosting DeSoto. Interesting opportunity for them to pick up a win potentially. And then over the weekend, Saturday, Notre Dame will be at the Donovan Invitational. And then Jackson is going up north in St. Louis, taking on Corhay Zoo and Incarnate Word up there. So two of the bigger, better private schools in St. Louis area. Be a tough test for the Indians. Swimming, the boys' side, you've got, I said, by the time you see this, Cape will have already been at Poplar Bluff. Notre Dame is at Farmington. Thursday, Jackson will be hosting Farmington. And then Saturday, Cape, Jackson, Notre Dame travel up to Lindbergh for the Flyer Invitational up there. Should be a good one. I expect there to be a lot of teams there, so it'll be a competitive environment again for Cape, Jackson, and Notre Dame swimmers. Get some experience here as we, like I said, get to the middle of the season, start closing out the year, getting ready for postseason. And then last thing on the docket is girls tennis. I'm going to miss the first part of the week here. There's a lot of games early in the week. Wednesday, Jackson will be hosting Oakville. Notre Dame will go to Crothersville. They'll probably handle Crothersville. Saxony will have their hands full at Kennett. Kennett is a monster. Sorry ahead of time, Saxony. Thursday, get another good local rivalry here. Cape will be hosting Jackson. Good facility over there. Another game that's happening on Thursday that's really close to where I live at. Cape and Jackson playing. And then Friday will be the SEMO Conference tournament. So that will be, your Cape, your Jackson, your Notre Dame all taking place in SEMO Conference tournament. That will be on Saturday, and that will be unknown. I don't know where it's at. Clicked on the tournament. Doesn't say where it's at yet. So anyway, Friday, SEMO Conference tournament for tennis. Always very, very exciting time, interesting time, competitive time. I believe Kennett's in the SEMO Conference for girls tennis. They're in other sports, so we'll see if they're there. They're probably going to be the favorite if they are there. Notre Dame, Jackson will be up there as well, Cape Central. So should be a competitive time, should be a fun time, and that pretty much does it as far as my look ahead for this upcoming week or this week's games and activities. As I said, a lot going on. So, I threw all that out at you. You can go back and listen to it. You can look up these teams' schedules individually. I know if you're a parent listening, I'm sure you have your own kids' stuff to go to. But, hey, if you're just if you're a student or just a random fan listener, there's a lot going on still. The weather's still nice. I believe it's going to be cooling down a little bit. We'll take a little peek here, peek at the weather. But I think, I don't want to curse us here. But I think we might be through the really hot stuff. We might be getting some rain early in the week. But, the back half of the week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, looking pretty nice. 70s, low 80s, all next week at the moment. Is all kind of scheduled for the 80s. So, get out, go see some of these teams while the weather's still nice, and while you can still get outside and watch some local sports. And like I always say, these kids have worked hard all summer and have worked hard throughout the fall. They've been playing hard. They're dealing with bumps and bruises and injuries and this, that, and the other nagging stuff. So it's always tough to play through. And so these kids that are still out here, hacking away at it, go support them. Go watch what they've got. Watch going on. There's a lot of games going on, so a lot of opportunities still left. Like I said, we're halfway through, so the days are definitely counting down. I've already seen a lot of senior day, senior night stuff for, softball, soccer, tennis, etc. So we're getting into it. We're in the heart of it right now. But before it's too late, go check out what these kids are doing. As always, I appreciate all you guys who watch and listen. I always enjoy the comments and all the interactions, things like that. Everybody I see in public that mention it, I am better at conversing to no one, staring into a camera, talking to a microphone in a room by myself, maybe than I am in person. I apologize, but I always appreciate y'all coming up and telling me you guys enjoy listening. And always, I just want to put spotlight on the kids. That's what it's all about. These kids, like I keep saying, they work hard, and I want to get more exposure for them. If just my little bit helps in any type of way, that's all I can hope for. It's all I ask for. And so it should be a good one. I said it a couple times. If you want to listen to the Jackson game, I'll be there on the radio with Cody Hinkebine, 104.7 The Bridge. I try to offer insightful and professional play-by-play. Sometimes I fail, but I try my best. And, Ryan Winkler will be up at St. Dominic. He does the games on the radio, Cape Radio, but also check him out on YouTube. Cape Central Sports on YouTube. His channel does a great job streaming the game. So go check them out. And yeah, appreciate you guys. Keep watching, keep listening, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. And yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. That pretty much does it for me. Hold on. Let's see if I have anything else, any more housekeeping. I think that's it. So you guys have a good one. Appreciate all of you watching, listening. Take it easy. We'll see you in the next one.